Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a very special episode of the React Podcast, episode 20. I'm your host, Richard Bailey Jr., and today I'm joined by Mr. Jakejames Lugo.
What's going on, Rich? A lot to unpack today. We just saw the PlayStation experience, so I'm pretty excited.
Yes. We just witnessed the PlayStation experience. For those of you who are wondering where everybody else is at, well, I know Gary has some guests over, so we will have a co-op in which everyone will be also able to give their own reactions, but this is for us because we're ready to talk about it now.
I'm a minute.
Absolutely. So I know that you was live tweeting throughout the whole event.
Definitely.
So I'm going to let you be the one to lead the topics, and I'll share my thoughts. We can discuss from there.
Yeah, sure. I was live tweeting throughout the entirety of the keynote speech. Now, right now, as we're recording, the PlayStation experience is going on right now. Like, they just opened up the doors, and everybody's going to play the different games at the different kiosks. Some of the games that were not at the keynote, they actually have displays on the floor, like The Last Guardian and a few others and such. They actually brought The Last Guardian display that was from TGS. They brought that over to the PlayStation experience, and people are getting, like, footage and stuff of it. So that's pretty cool. So with that being said, though, let's dive right into some of the stuff. I'm going to look at my notes here on Twitter, so bear with me if it's a little kind of like broken up and such, because, again, a lot of talking, a lot of discussion, a lot of reactions during the course of the keynote speech. So they opened up with Uncharted 4. Now, let me ask you, what do you think of like what they showed with Uncharted 4 so far? We got a little tidbit of stuff that's brand new.
Well, yeah, I know Naughty Dog is known for the storytelling more than anything else. So it made me very intrigued to find out more about the motivations of Nathan's brother, just the story as a whole. I didn't really see too much. I was on the road as the show started, so I didn't see gameplay. I just saw that cinematic montage. I don't know if they showed any gameplay after that.
Yeah, they actually showed gameplay. The only thing they really showed that was like gameplay oriented, quote unquote, was the dialogue options, the branching dialogue during the cutscenes, which is brand new for the series. It's pretty awesome. And I'm guessing obviously that's going to change up obviously some of how the dialogue plays out with very similar outcomes. I'm pretty sure. I don't think they're going to be that open as far as like the events that transpire, but you'll get like different dialogue and different voice acting from Nathan and the rest of the cast. So that was pretty cool. And at this point, for me, I think that less is more right now. We don't really need to see a lot more often of a lot more gameplay from Uncharted 4 and in general. The beta is out right now. People are playing the beta on PlayStation Network at this moment, and especially if you pre-ordered the Uncharted. No, I think it's not pre-ordered, but you bought the Nathan Drake collection on PS4. So hopefully, as we get more towards like E3 next year and such, we might see a little bit more. But I really don't need to see anything else of Uncharted right now.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. The game is out in March, so they don't really need to show any like massive spoilers or anything like that. I just want to play the game now. So yeah, I'm totally fine with them not really showing too much of that. They just need to. We only got a couple months, so it's coming soon. But it looked great, though. What I did see looked fantastic, so I'm looking forward to it.
Definitely. And for the record, we're all just gonna ignore that Sean Layden walked out with a Crash Bandicoot shirt on. Like he pulled a page out of Xbox's group when they walked out with Battletoads stuff. So clearly somebody's been paying attention to what the other camp has been doing. So it would have been nice for like an announcement, but who knows at this point? Maybe down the line.
That's probably coming. Well, we'll get into what we was, as far as what else we think is going to get announced, because I was expecting a couple other things that could be talked about, but we'll get into that later.
Definitely. So the next big thing that happens, which wasn't the biggest, or arguably can be considered the biggest thing, at least for me personally, Final Fantasy VII Remake, we saw gameplay. That's huge. That is absolutely huge. I cannot stress how big that is, because a couple things. Number one, it shows you like how much they've worked on the game up to this point at this state. Such a lot of changes to the battle system. It's not going to be a traditional battle system like the original Final Fantasy VII. It's, from what I got, and I want to get your impressions on this, it looks like they're pulling a lot of pages out of Final Fantasy 15. A lot of people on social media were saying Kingdom Hearts because of the way that the HUD's laid out. But keep in mind, Kingdom Hearts and Final Fantasy 15 have both similar layouts as far as like, different commands and options you have. And from what I saw with Cloud moving around in the actual trailer, which you could find online now, I believe you can find it on the Coalition now at this moment, to watch the trailer. It looks like they're taking pages out of Final Fantasy 15 and a little bit out of Crisis Core Final Fantasy 7. So I don't know. What did you think of this, Rich?
Yeah, here's the thing. As I said before on the show, I'm not really into the Final Fantasy series. So obviously, have to dive into it. But what I saw of this, and I do recall when I saw a Final Fantasy 15 trailer, it looks like the gameplay is very similar. I know a lot of people liked what they saw of Final Fantasy 15, so that does look similar in terms of the actions, the way the character was moving, so on and so forth. But I thought it looked fantastic.
Oh yeah, those visuals, dude. I mean, a lot of people were throwing jokes around about Barrett. He looks like Blade now, a little bit. Like that resemblance. And there's like a Twitter picture going around between the two of them side by side, which I'm totally cool with. But definitely, the gameplay looks much more action packed. It looks like a lot more faster. There was a little clip during that trailer that showed Cloud like speeding away, doing his kind of like a stinger attack, like what Dante does from Devil May Cry. That's like one of his big attacks from Final Fantasy VII, and that looked awesome. Like some of the fights, some of the other attacks he was doing, as well as Barrett during the course of that gameplay trailer, which to me, again, really looks like very similar to Final Fantasy 15 and that type of style of gameplay.
Oh yeah, definitely. I know that they didn't really talk about any release dates at the end of that conversation, did they?
No, I don't expect them to. I don't think that's coming out anytime soon. They did say though that Final Fantasy VII, the PC port, is available on PlayStation 4 right now. Now I just checked the PlayStation Network, the store for my PlayStation 4. It's not on there yet at the time that we're recording this React podcast, but I'm pretty sure like within the next like hour or two, or at least as we go further into the evening, so you're going to see it pop up on PlayStation 4, which I'm going to buy immediately. Like I want those trophies. It's got trophy support, so I'm down like that. But a couple other things I want to mention about Final Fantasy VII before we move on. Did you see the models for the other characters in that trailer besides Cloud and Barrett? The Shinra soldiers. They looked awesome, awesome.
Oh yeah, the game looks fantastic. Visually, there's major differences between the original and this one. And you could tell that they really wanted to get as much detail as possible. Listen, as I said before, I haven't played any Final Fantasy games. I definitely am interested in checking this out because just everything about it just looks solid, in my opinion.
Definitely.
So, yeah, good job. And I look forward to 15. I would assume 15 is coming out soon since they said that the development...
Spring next year.
Yeah, so we'll see about that.
Yeah, but like I was saying, like, again, I'm just hyped up for it. I did not expect them to show gameplay this early. Definitely. I mean, that was from left field. But one thing I will say, like, throughout the course of that presentation, because Tetsuya Nomura was on stage, and I know he's helping direct Final Fantasy VII Remake, I also expect, and I was waiting for him to say something about Kingdom Hearts specifically, and they didn't do that, which I think was to their benefit, because I'm pretty sure later down the line, eventually, because I know Jump Fiesta is coming up very soon in Japan, and that's going to be a big thing, and I'm pretty sure they already confirmed that we're going to get a new trailer for Kingdom Hearts 3 over there, as well as Kingdom Hearts Key and HD 2.8 and all those other games that are associated with Kingdom Hearts. So that was to their benefit.
That makes sense. When they made the announcement of Final Fantasy VII Remaster, is that, how the reactions they had. I laughed at the video they showed with the guy crying. It's a very...
For the record, in one of the clips for PlayStation, one of their B-rolls from E3, I'm in that video. I'm actually in the audience with my friend Gio, a friend of the show.
Oh, yeah.
We were jumping when we saw the trailer. Because the hype was so intense there and the excitement, and we were just fanboying right there. I was jumping for joy when I got the announcement of Final Fantasy VII, and I'm surprised they showed a little bit of that B-roll, but I didn't see myself in it. So that was a cool little moment.
I did see that other video you're talking about. Yeah, was a cool moment.
Definitely.
But hey, I'm looking forward to the game. I'm glad that they showed it today. I knew that they was teased and said that they would show more at this event. So glad they delivered on that.
Definitely. Now after that, after that whole debacle and everybody was pumped up, which I think was cool. It was a great way to kind of like start off the show again. Uncharted and Final Fantasy VII Remake. Boom. Like apparently they're coming in like fist swinging. After that, we got some Black Ops 3 talk. Okay, we got a new Black Ops DLC called Awakening, All right, and they also talked a little bit about the whole Major League Gaming or like the competitive gaming aspect to Black Ops 3 or just Call of Duty in general. PlayStation users are going to get the Awakening DLC first when it comes out at release and such. So, what did you think of that? I mean, are you really into Call of Duty like that right now? Because I'm not. I mean, I really didn't play Black Ops 3.
Well, here's the thing. I really enjoyed Advanced Warfare because the cast that they had in that game, the way they put it together, I have to say that's one of the best campaigns they have released. I haven't finished Black Ops 3 yet, but I mean, yeah, I don't really care too much for the DLC stuff either. But at the same time, probably will get a chance to play it, review it for the site, so I'll get to dive further into it. But so far with the game itself, I think it's okay. It has not impressed me to the extent of being better than Advanced Warfare, though. That campaign was just fire. Everything about that was great, very action packed, and I'm not saying Black Ops 3 isn't but I have to finish it obviously before I give a full thoughts on it. But so far, it's okay. But the DLC stuff is, again, I know they had to announce some third party deals. They had to make some of that stuff readily clear, as we will get into stuff with Destiny and a few of the other games they talked about. But I mean, the competitive scene is a big deal, but they announced that also a while back that PlayStation was going to be the official part of their partnerships. And I went to the event that they had last year for the Xbox World Championships in California. So it'll be very interesting to go to that again next year. And then it just be all PlayStations there instead of Xboxes. But it was a very good experience. There's a lot of people there, very competitive environment, so it was fun.
Clearly, people are into it, and they were saying like a lot of people are diving into Call of Duty Black Ops 3 on PlayStation 4. So, I mean, if that wasn't the case, they obviously wouldn't be making such a big push with that, and they wouldn't be making such a big deal of that, But besides that, besides Black Ops 3, then we started talking about Star Wars, which I thought was like a weird transition. During the course of the show, we went from Black Ops to Star Wars. To be honest with you guys, I was totally expecting for someone like Amy Hennig or something to get up on stage, representing EA, and then talk about Star Wars. Because again, it was just a weird transition. But at the same time, when they started talking about Star Wars, they were talking about Star Wars Battlefront and specifically the Battle of Jakku DLC. I mean, they showed a little B-roll as far as the reception of that Battlefront and the cool moments that people have been having in games. And they talked about the Battle of Jakku DLC, which is out on December 8th for everybody. But if you pre-ordered Battlefront, you're access to it right now. We actually have our impressions of it. I actually wrote it recently that went up this morning before the PlayStation Experience. You guys can find out how good the Battle of Jakku DLC is at this moment right now on the Coalition. But I was expecting, again, someone like Amy Hennig to come on stage and talk about the next Star Wars game, because they mentioned Battlefront, they mentioned Disney Infinity and such. They talked a little bit, obviously, about the hype surrounding The Force Awakens. I mean, did you get that same impression, like when that was going on?
Yeah, I knew they was going to talk about this because, as you said, the movie's coming out in about 2 weeks. Plus, they are, Sony has already established that they are very heavy with the third parties this year. They have the deals with Star Wars, Black Ops. So I, expected this to some degree. I personally didn't think it was necessary to talk about it during the show, but I understand why they did it, specifically because they have to do it, because you won't see any other time for them to talk about this, because the DLC is out next week. And the movie is out in 2 weeks. So it makes sense for them to do it. But Amy Hennig, that would have been great to see that. But I kind of feel like that's something that you'll know about at E3 versus now, because I know there is some stuff that I'm pretty sure that they also wanted to talk more about, but they're going to purposely hold off that information until E3 and, at different parts throughout the time they're able to show it next year. So
yeah,
that's understood.
I can understand that. Yeah, I mean, me and like a lot of other people are really going on because The Force Awakens is like a couple weeks away. So like you would think like there's a lot of big stuff to kind of capitalize on that hype train for Star Wars. But I could totally see what you mean. Like that makes a little bit more sense, especially because again we're gonna get a Star Wars movie every single year. So Force Awakens this year, next year is gonna be Rogue One. So I don't know. I'm not pretty sure when Rogue One's going to come out or whatnot, but I could definitely see like those announcements and those projects being spread out over time, just to keep the hype train rolling. So
Oh,
that was cool.
one other last thing too. I'll be very surprised if we do not see the two main characters from the upcoming Star Wars movie as DLC in Battlefront.
That's exactly what I said in the impressions. Like I was surprised, and I was thinking that maybe after the movie comes out, like you'll hear about that, and it won't be a free DLC. That's one thing that I was really thinking about because the new mode for Battlefront Turning Point that comes with the Jakku map, you can't play with heroes on it in the Turning Point game type. Okay, so every other game mode that like Walker Assault, Supremacy, you could have all the heroes that are part of that mode. Like again, all the heroes that are in the game, but specifically for Turning Point, they were left out. So maybe that might be a thing down the line. Who knows at this point, but let's hope for the best. But moving on from there, right? So after Battlefront stuff, okay, and then everybody was still reeling in from the Final Fantasy VII like announcement earlier, especially myself. But they started talking about Battleborn. Okay. Battleborn seems interesting. They got a brand new character, Toby the Penguin, which is a penguin in a mech, which sounds ridiculous, at first, but it looks fun. And, Randy Pitchford was on stage and he was having a good time, like actually talking about it, like goofing off and such. What did you think of Toby in Battleborn?
Yeah, I'm already sold on the game only because we know the Gearbox, what they did with Borderlands was awesome. And I just actually started playing Tales from the Borderlands. So I saw, it's fun. So silly stuff like this, I definitely want to give it a try. I'm glad that they're giving everybody an opportunity to try it out for free next year with a beta prior to launch, early 2016. So I'll be able to actually see whether or not it's something that I would enjoy. But I'm definitely sold on it so far. I like their humor. I like the characters. So it looks interesting.
It's having a lot of fun, kind of poking fun at itself a little bit. And I think Randy Pitcher kind of like really brought that point home with, again, just saying like, oh, Toby's a badass, like, and all that type of stuff on stage. So he was having a good time with that. And I think everybody was really warming the kind of, the reception for it. Besides that, afterwards, Street Fighter V, big deal. A couple announcements coming from Ono about Street Fighter V. Number one, brand new character, which is Fang, and exclusively it's a PlayStation 4. Again, because the game is exclusive to PlayStation 4. But he's a crazy-looking original character that we've never seen before. His backstory is that he's part of Shadowloo, and he fights with like a weird style that's like really like a crazy-looking character. It reminds me a little bit of Voldo to some extent, or like a couple characters from Guilty Gear. But what did you think when you saw this actual character?
It's a interesting yet weird character. I still have to be sold. Here's the thing. I'm going to get the game no matter what, so that's totally fine. The DLC characters, though.
Yeah, big deal. Big deal for Street Fighter fans. Big time. Number one, the game's coming out February 16th, 2016. And we're getting 6 characters, including some favorites that have been requested for a while. Alex from Third Strike, Urien from Third Strike, Guile from Street Fighter 2, Balrog from Street Fighter 2, Juri from Street Fighter 4, and Ibuki from Street Fighter 3 as well. That's pretty cool. That's a diverse palette of characters that people are interested in.
Yes. And I know a lot of people predicted that these were going to be some of the characters because I saw people,
It got leaked earlier. That was another thing. Ono was poking fun at the fact that all these leaks were happening. So that was great. But yeah, it leaked out early.
Well, hey, it's this stuff happens all the time with these leaks. But hey, listen, I'm looking forward to the characters. Plus, these are going to be free DLC characters, correct? This is what they said.
They said that you could be able to get them one of two ways. You could either pay for them normally. Again, they're going to be released within the first year. And also right now, the season pass for 2016 for Street Fighter V is on sale right now that you could pre-order it. So like when you get the game, you're going to get all the characters as they come out consecutively. Or as they come out throughout the course of 2016, you'll be able to earn in-game fight money and just purchase them that way. So like if you play a lot, which I'm hoping is not stretched out like really bad like that, you'll be able to play a decent amount of matches and then just unlock them normally. So that could go one of many different ways and such, but at least we're getting those characters. At least they're available, and they'll give you options on how you can obtain them.
Mm-hmm. That's cool.
But yeah, so besides that, a funny couple stuff that happened. Gio Corsi was on stage with Ono, while Ono was making all the announcements and stuff, and they had a little bit of fun, little tussles there, goofing off about like announcements and such, which is always cool. Ono, having seen him in person a couple times at different events and stuff, he's just a fun guy to be around, and he just brings a lot of humor and like just lightheartedness to a lot of these different shows that he goes to, especially when he has big announcements. He dressed up as Ryu with like the different like rock'em sock'em like gloves and such with the Ryu headband. I thought that was just fun.
Yeah, definitely.
But besides that, Gio Corsi ended up coming out on stage talking about a lot of third-party stuff. So we got a twin-stick shooter from Armature Studios called Dead Star, which looks a little bit kind of like, Geometry Wars or like those types of style of games. And it's coming to PlayStation 4. Okay, it looks cool. What did you think about this? Did you get a chance to take a look at it?
Yeah, I got a chance to look at all the stuff that they showed. I thought, it's more games, more opportunities for them to basically, because this is the thing, because Sony is doing so well now, they're able to try and take other risks and just release more games to try and get other people's attention and into the product. I thought it looked great. There were some games that I saw at the Games Paris event that I'm really, really looking forward to. Probably a little bit more than what they showed with these particular titles. But for what they showed, I don't have a problem with it because, again, they're able to take these risks and put more things out there because they have such a large, audience right now.
Definitely. Here's the thing about this showcase, because it was a bunch of different stuff. We saw stuff from Adult Swim Games. We saw stuff from Double Fine with Tish Schafer got on stage with Geo on there. And, there's a diverse palette of titles. We're getting Day of the Tentacle Remastered. We're getting, Dead Star. We're getting, Headlander. I'm going to go through the list here because there was a lot. We're getting a remake of Full Throttle, from Double Fine. And also we're getting Psychonauts on PlayStation VR. Besides Psychonauts 2 being announced not too long ago, which was a big deal in of itself. But we're getting a Psychonauts PlayStation VR game. What did you think of that specifically?
Well, here's the thing. We're going to obviously talk about VR shortly.
Yeah.
I think that, it is a bit of a smart decision to have a game like that to, you want to try and pull people onto the device. The one
exclusively on VR too.
Oh yeah, exclusive. See, and this is what I was waiting. Now, I must admit though, the VR itself, I'm still not really sold on the game. So, if they have more announcements like this where they're talking about games that are coming exclusively to that, and the game actually looks as though it may be compelling, then I will be interested.
Yeah.
But we're going. We'll talk about VR shortly. But with this game in particular, I think it's totally fine. I still need to see something from it to be like, okay, this is a good use for the device. But I think, hey, it's nothing wrong with that. But they need exclusive software on that device, I would say, for it to sell and actually be a success, because a lot of devices don't necessarily have the best software. Kinect, for example, on the Xbox One, I didn't particularly think that they did a good job supporting that. So
definitely true. Good points all around. But my point was that, again, like just from all these third-party studios when Gio Corsi was on there, there's, again, a huge diverse palette. Now, one thing I will say that was very interesting, and it was kind of funny, he made it a point that a lot of these games are also coming to PlayStation Vita, which goes to show you that there's still games coming out on Vita from a variety of different studios. A lot of they made it a point right about that when he was on stage. We also got other games, including Don't Starve. Was it Don't Starve Together, which is like a co-op version of Don't Starve on PlayStation 4. We got Zodiac. Was it? I think it's pronounced Okanon. Was it Odyssey? Okanon Odyssey, which is coming on PlayStation 4 and PlayStation Vita. And finally, the big one, like as far as like these third-party games is concerned, Yakuza 5 coming to PlayStation 3 on December 8th, which is like in a couple days, and also Yakuza 0 coming to PlayStation 4 here in the States.
All right, I have a question now. So
what's up?
Yakuza 5 is that on PlayStation 4 yet?
I don't know. I mean, the last time I heard about Yakuza 5 was a while back. I mean, because again, there's a lot of that stuff was from Tokyo Game Show, it's like type of stuff, or like was it a lot of the shows that have been going on in Japan. But also, I heard a lot more about Yakuza Zero, and also that Yakuza Feudal Japan game. That also is like a whole nother can of worms and such. So I don't know if Yakuza 5 is on PlayStation 4. I would assume so. When he said that, I thought like maybe he was saying like PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 3. That would have made more sense to me, but I'm not so sure, to be honest with you. At least, though, we're at least getting a Yakuza game on PlayStation 4, if that's not the case.
Exactly.
Like, we're at least getting Yakuza 0 that's on PlayStation 4, and we also got one for PlayStation 3.
Yeah, again, this is another series where I haven't really played too many of the games, so I will be curious where is the best place to start. If Yakuza 0 is that place, I'm totally fine with that.
Honestly, because from my understanding, Yakuza 0 is a prequel to a lot of the Yakuza games that are on there. I don't know if it's a prequel to the first or second Yakuza game. I could be wrong. I know I've played a couple of them. Specifically the one that really kind of caught my eye, that again was like really just an offshoot. It wasn't really canon to the storyline of the series, was Yakuza Dead Souls on PS3, which is again just a crazy off the wall, like imaginary story of what goes on in the Yakuza universe. But I think this would be a good place to start Yakuza 0 for like people like yourself that haven't really dived into that series yet, because those games are long. I know those games are like really meaty, and they're long RPGs with a lot of side content and stuff. So it takes a while to complete them. So anyway, another one that I want to talk about too, King of Fighters 14. King of Fighters is a big deal for MK Play More. Okay.
Yeah.
The thing about this is that it looks very similar to Street Fighter 4/Street Fighter 5 in its aesthetic. If you remember, King of Fighters, the previous one, I think it was King of Fighters 13, had that very hardcore, beautiful looking 2D sprite work. Looked awesome. The character designs were off the wall and such. But now they've gone with a pseudo 2.5D aesthetic. I mean, what did you think of that when you saw that trailer?
Yeah, I did notice that. I mean, now that's a series that I have played in the past. It's a very fun series, but I have to admit, even though I can see that they are trying to have the same style as the Street Fighter game, I personally still think the Street Fighter V looks better than that game. I'm not saying that the game is going to be better. I mean, who knows? They can both be equally amazing games. But specifically, when I looked at this game and I looked at Street Fighter V, I'm like, Street Fighter V just looks fantastic.
I'm kind of with you on that one. I mean, from when I saw the trailer, I mean, I'm glad we're getting another King of Fighters game. Don't get me wrong. I was really hoping that some of the character designs from the previous game would get changed up a little bit, because I wasn't happy with them and how they looked and such. And I understand why they're going with this transition, because this is what works right now. This is what some of the biggest fighting games on the market are doing. They're still having these 3D looks, these 3D models and such, even though they're having 2D gameplay. So it's only natural for any real fighting game series to really kind of progress with that, with the exception if you're a 3D fighter. But if you're like a 2D fighting game series, you have to kind of move along with the times, or at least offer something what people are going to be gravitated to. I will agree with you. Yeah, I think Street Fighter V looks like the better looking game, more specifically because Street Fighter V is heavily stylized. Like I look at King of Fighters, and to me, it looks like, okay, everything's kind of like transitions over to 3D models. They're smoothed out. They look a little bit kind of like PlayStation 2/PlayStation 3 models kind of like turned over. And I don't say that in a disparaging way. It just looks like, again, there's still probably more polish being done to those models. And I'm pretty sure it's going to look fantastic by the time the game comes out. But if you look at Street Fighter V like side by side with that, you'll definitely more likely, because of that stylized look, think that Street Fighter V looks like the better game.
Well, yeah, and again, as you already said, that doesn't mean that the other game is going to be horrible at all. I mean, again, I'm a fan of that series, so I definitely will check it out further. I look forward to hearing more about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, this was another thing that leaked out about that, because we knew that this game was going to be.
When the trailer came out.
Yeah, so we knew that this was going to be at the show, but it's all good.
Definitely. So another one I want to talk about that again, there was like these announcement after announcement of games that were just like happening that were third party related. Bandai Namco talked a little, or not Bandai Namco, I'm sorry. What is it? The Team Ninja. Sorry, because the guys who make Ninja Gaiden, they showed off gameplay for Nioh, which to me, when I first saw it, I was like, oh snap, this is what that thing was from Capcom about Onimusha, because you look at it, it looks straight up like Onimusha, but like a next evolution of it. But Neo, it looks pseudo Dark Souls meets what is it? Onimusha meets kind of like Ninja Gaiden a little bit. It's like very gritty samurai-esque, magical pseudo mythology type of looking game. It looks pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie. I'm interested in how it plays. If it plays in a much more Dark Souls oriented way, where things are a lot more tougher as far as like the actions you could take, or does it play much more arcadey like a Ninja Gaiden? I mean, when you saw it, like, did you get that same type of vibe?
Yeah, I am looking forward to that game specifically because it does remind me of Ninja Gaiden. Reminds me of a couple of different games. But I am looking forward to that specifically because I'm just interested to hear more about it and what they're actually doing with it. I know that Charles was a big fan of this game. This is one of the games he was talking about when they revealed it. I believe at the Paris, no, maybe it wasn't Paris event show, one of the last shows.
Games Week? I think it was Paris Games Week that they showed, or was it right before then?
Oh, it was either then or yeah, it probably was Paris Games Week. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. No, that was at the Japanese.
Oh, the Japanese event.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, you're right.
I mean, I definitely am intrigued to learn more about it. I feel like we'll see more about that sooner rather than later. At E3, definitely, but
definitely, yeah. I hope it's playable at E3. I don't know if it's playable now. I don't remember them saying that, but I would love to get my hands on that game just to see how it is because it has that aesthetic from Dark Souls. But if it plays like an arcade, kind of like Ninja Gaiden and stuff, I'm in. Like, it looks really cool. Besides that, Bastion for PS Vita is out today at the end of the show, which, again, that's been a long time coming. It's out on the Vita. It was for PlayStation 4. I remember I reviewed Bastion for PS Vita for Coalition and such. And one of the things that we were told from Supergiant was that it's going to come out on Vita. It's going to be cross-platform, cross-buy, cross-save and such. And we didn't hear anything about it for a long time. So now it's finally out now, which is cool. So, I mean, a nice way to kind of catch up with that. They also gave away some stuff, and they talked about new stuff that was coming. Bit Trip and Nuclear Throne for PlayStation 4 that they gave people in the audience a free copy of, which I thought was cool.
Yeah. Well, yeah, definitely. A little bit of an incentive for those that are actually there. And they also do have a game available now, a free-to-play game that people can download starting today. I think it's called Guns Up.
Guns Up, yeah, I played the beta for Guns Up. Guns Up was actually pretty fun.
Okay, cool.
So yeah, but another game also that, again, just one thing after another, okay, was Brutal. Brutal to me looked like a hack and slash version of Tron. Like, there's a couple of games at the show that had a little Tron inspiration to them, but this one specifically, it looked like a mixture of Gauntlet and Tron when you saw that.
Yeah, you said this came after. I think I missed that one.
Yeah, it was very quick. It was a short trailer. It was after they talked about Bastion and all that other stuff from Supergiant. Very brief and such. But I caught it, and it was like, okay, this looks pretty interesting. It wasn't a lot to go on, but that was like the first thing that stuck out to me. It was like it was 4 heroes. They were all lit up in like this really black/dark environment, and then this giant dragon with a red kind of like outline on it just showed up, and it looked cool. I want to see more of it.
We'll see more.
Another thing also, Fat Princess Adventures. What did you think of this?
I mean, again, I have to be honest. I mean, I'm not into every one of these games, but I can appreciate the fact that, again, you have a much larger audience, so you're able to make you can take a lot more risk with the stuff that you make. This is, of course, a very popular franchise, I believe with Nintendo. Well, it was. So I do. There is an audience out there for that game. I mean, I thought it looked pretty silly. It's better suited for everyone else. Not necessarily me per se, but
it's not your fancy.
It's not my fancy. But I know some people out there will definitely, be want to check it out if they are fans of the series from the past.
So now let's talk about Ratchet and Clank, because Ted Price got on stage,
Yes.
from Insomniac Games. That looked pretty cool. He talked about the movie a little bit. He talked about, the legacy of Ratchet and Clank and such. And then we saw gameplay, which at first, when it first started, I thought it was the movie. I swear to God, I thought that was the movie at first. But then when he started getting the gameplay into it, I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. The presentation looks fantastic. The little details with the voice acting and the kind of dialogue between Ratchet and Clank, and then the narration from Captain Quark, I thought was hilarious. I thought it was great. The enemies look good. Again, the cutscenes look fantastic and such. What did you think of that? Did you think it would look good as well?
Yes, that I very much enjoyed watching that. One thing about Insomniac, and again, I told a lot of people when I reviewed Sunset Overdrive last year, games was definitely fun. The humor and the way that they basically make their products is always a solid product. Haven't really noticed any problems with it. So I'm glad that they are bringing this series back. I guess I don't know if you want to call it a remaster or or whatever.
I think it's I think you could consider it a remaster. I think they refer to it as a remaster because it's essentially the same story. It's Ratchet and Clank 1, but it's really there's a lot of work that's been done to it. Clearly.
Yeah. It's a ton of work. And what we saw of the footage was this was great. It's here if there's one word to describe their games, they have like a lot of charm to them. And this was a perfect example of that. You see they had, different things that the character was doing when he came in encounter with enemies. They had the little disco ball strobe scene, which I thought was...
And the 8-bit gun. The gun that turned that chip into an 8-bit sprite looking thing, and then it just exploded to pieces. That I thought was great.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I say, they really do have a lot of charm and when they make these games. They have a very, very good sense of humor. So, I personally am looking forward to this without question. April 12th, I believe, is when they said it drops early for those that, on PlayStation 4, the movie as well, supposed to come out around that time. So, this was definitely a day one purchase for me personally. But yeah, it looks fantastic.
Definitely. So after that, then's when we finally got into PlayStation VR. So the demo they showed for PlayStation VR, I mean, I definitely want to get your impressions of this because you mentioned PSVR earlier. The demo that they showed had a very Tron-esque type of feel to it. Like, again, it was just a tech demo. I don't think they even said, like, what it was called. It wasn't really a game or anything. It was just them displaying or trying to display, like, what the experience would be like for playing on a PlayStation VR. They didn't talk about price. They didn't talk about release or anything like that. What they did show is, like, again, just two people just flinging a disc kind of like in Tron and trying to, like, stop the other one or knock the other person down off the platform. It kind of reminded me a little bit, like, looking at their movements and stuff and, like, what they were trying to do. I could definitely see something like a boxing game actually work well in something like this. Very simple, kind of like 1v1, okay? I mean, playing online via PlayStation Network and such, even though they had two PlayStation VR headsets kind of like worked in together and such. It looked interesting. Again, that's just very hard to display on an actual conference. I think everybody was in unanimous thought that it wasn't like the best type of way to display VR because you really have to experience that yourself in order to get it. And they even really said that as like the only really way to get it is to try it out yourself. But what did you think of this actual demo of PSVR?
Yeah, I agree with many that have, talked about it and said that, this is not really the best way to display the device. Now, I understand what they were trying to do because I believe that Microsoft, they wanted to demo their technology, HoloLens, last year. I mean, no, earlier this year. They had a live demo of their presentation, and that was fantastic. You saw all the visuals and stuff on the stage coming together. But with this particular thing here, it's very hard to really reenact and show what you're seeing through the lens of the actual device. So I don't really think it was the best decision to, show it on stage because people still don't really understand or get the concept of what they're doing.
I give them kudos for doing it, though. I mean, at least trying to do it and trying to show it, I give them a little bit of credit, because, again, I think this is just a very hard sell. Just in general, this is why they probably haven't talked about price or anything else like that. Like, I think it's a very, very hard sell.
But again, it definitely is a hard sell. But to me, I think that again, what it's going to come down to is the software that's on this device because that can be what will propel someone to be like, okay, I want to pick that up. And again, if they have certain games that have that support, such as a game that they announced shortly thereafter. that if somebody was swearing in the audience, like, oh,
Oh yeah,
whoa,
I know. I mean, a lot of people were excited about that. Res Infinite. Res Infinite is what they announced, which makes sense to me. Like when I saw it and it finally said, and I saw the gameplay of it because I immediately recognized what it was, and I was like, okay, I could get this. Like that sounds like it'd be very cool to experience that in VR, like that. And apparently, a lot of people were talking about that ever since Res first came out, which I kind of don't believe or whatnot. But I mean, I can only imagine. I don't know if it's playable at PSX. I hope it is because I want to get people's impressions of that with them actually checking it out. But that sounds like it would be really fun.
oh yeah, yeah. Um, I mean, once again, I don't want to sound like a broken record. A lot of the stuff that they did show, you know, like you said already, it's a very hard sell for them to sell this device. I think the software has to speak volumes to really match up with the device. Like when you're making stuff exclusively for PlayStation VR, that's different. Whereas it's not really, I think that those are the type of games that will make full use of the device and really give you a sense of the developers trying to push the software on the device. So, I mean, a lot of the games they showed were, I don't think they interest me personally, although I will say, Ace Combat 7.
Yeah,
What?
that looked cool.
Yeah, I mean that's a game that I will more than likely play. I don't necessarily think I will buy a PlayStation VR to experience it yet because I need, again, more reasons to let me know why I need this device. So I just think that they're probably going to take their time to really, honestly, what I think Sony will do is they're going to see how the Oculus does. They're going to use that as a tool to figure out how they want to do the messaging for this device.
Which is smart, which is very smart.
Oh yeah, it makes sense. I mean, you have, because they basically are competitors, but it makes sense to look at that and be like, okay, let's see how they did it, and if they did something that didn't work out right, we can of course probably do it better. So that's good for them.
Another game they also talked about from Ubisoft was Eagle Flight. Eagle Flight looked cool, and I'm surprised there's no Assassin's Creed connection in there somehow because for obvious reasons. I mean,
it's funny you say that because Gary had a couple of jokes, and I couldn't help but laugh. He says that game looked like the leftovers from an Assassin's Creed world.
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean,
yeah, and I mean, and again, Ubisoft. Listen, I just played Syndicate. I've been playing Syndicate. They need to focus on the games like their main titles that they know. Assassin's Creed. You got Far Cry coming out early next year, so they need to focus on these big titles, and I'm totally fine with that. So little games like this made for the device, I can respect that they did that. I don't personally think that I will play it, but at the same time, it's, again, there is an audience out there for this, and they'll be compelled to try it out.
Yeah.
But yeah.
A couple other games that they actually announced also within that time frame when Adam Boyes was on stage. Job Simulator, which I doubt. I mean, it looks goofy, and they had a little fun like talking about it, but I don't know how many people are really going to want to buy something called Job Simulator when they got to deal with their own jobs. Modern Zombie, as well as also Golem. Golem to me looks cool. It was a very short trailer, but just the idea, again, sounds like it's very cool.
Yeah, I think that was probably, of all the VR games that I did see, that was probably one that stood out. Like, okay, this looks interesting.
Like, if I had to pick to choose like the best ones out of that collection there, I would say Eagle Flight. To me, Eagle Flight just looked cool.
Yeah. Hey, as I said, it's there are some people that definitely will like that visually, and they'll be attracted to that game. So I can understand that.
Yeah. So after that, then finally we got away from PlayStation VR stuff, and then we started talking about Destiny, which is what a lot of people were really looking forward to. Destiny. So even though I personally don't think it's such a big deal with this type of content and stuff, I mean, it's kind of like a whatever announcement. Destiny is getting Sparrow Racing, a Sparrow Racing League in Destiny. That's going to be an event going on throughout this, was it December? For like, I think it's like 2 or 3 weeks and such, which is okay. It's fine. Or not. If you're into Destiny like that, apparently you're going to get an exclusive Sparrow for actually participating in it. And there's going to be a Sparrow-related quest that involves you actually doing races that's going to happen throughout the course of this event. So what do you think of that? I mean, I've gotten a little bit away from Destiny and such because again, there hasn't been really a lot of big stuff going on with it.
Yeah, what you just said is that. This racing thing that they have in there is, I guess, for those that are very much into Destiny, they'll definitely want to try it out, and they'll be, because they're already playing the game. But my thing is that, I personally think that, I think that Destiny is. I think it's, everybody is now just going to sit back and wait for Destiny 2. I don't know what Activision's plan is for supporting this game up until next September when we will probably get the sequel. But
the next big expansion or whatever year 3 is going to be.
Yeah. Because they haven't really announced anything about what's the next expansion or anything like that. I would like to hope that there will be at least one or two more, or maybe little small things here and there. But I personally don't think that the racing thing was a big deal. But again, I understand that they have to still show support for the game. Taken King was awesome.
Yeah, I remember. It was awesome. It was fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, and that was in many ways the game that people wanted with the original Destiny, as you had said in the actual review.
Yep.
So, I look forward to seeing what they're able to do from here on out, because I have no idea what they're going to do for the support side of things, but I do know that we definitely will be getting the sequel next year. That's pretty much a guarantee.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, it just, to me, this is kind of like a whatever announcement. I mean, I've gotten away from Destiny recently because of all the big games that have been coming out this year, because there's a lot of good, solid games for 2015. 2015 has been a great year for gaming, for everybody in general. Yes. So I'm hoping, as time goes on, I mean, this isn't the kind of thing that I really, this announcement isn't for me. This is an announcement for the guys that have just been strictly playing Destiny over the last year or so, like that. It's for them. So hopefully down the line we get something bigger, something better. But what was interesting, though, that caught my attention, even though, again, it was very brief, this game called Hob, that's for PlayStation 4, it looked kind of neat because it had elements of, like, puzzle platforming. It had elements of some action into it. What did you think of Hob?
This, man, I think this is probably another one where I just passed me by. You said this came shortly after the Destiny stuff?
Yeah, it was shortly after Destiny, and it was right before the next big one we're going to talk about. But Hob, again, it had this little guy that, he had like a little hood on. He had like a rock hand or something like that kind of transformed. And the logo at the end of it, transformed, looked like a robotic thing that just said Hob on it. It looked kind of neat. Again, it was a very short trailer and such. I want to see more of that. I'm hoping it's playable on there because, again, I want to get everybody's impressions that's over at PSX.
Yeah.
Now. So that looks cool. That piqued my interest a little bit.
I got to check that trailer out again. I don't know how I missed it. I got to check that out again.
Oh, so now the big one, okay, that got everybody up in arms and excited. Uh-oh. Level 5 for PlayStation 4 exclusively. Yes. Ni No Kuni II, the Revenant King. This is awesome. This thing is. What do you think of this? What are your thoughts?
Well, here's the thing. I recall that I wrote an article a while ago. I believe it was maybe last year or so. I did a list on, a couple of games that I think are going to be announced. And I put this game on the list. People said, no, there's no way in hell they would announce that game because it was too soon. And they were absolutely correct about it. But guess what? It still got announced. So I'm happy for this because, the first game in the series was great. Level 5, I really do love a lot of the work that they do. So I have no doubt that this game is going to be fantastic. Plus, it's going to be on PlayStation 4. And I'm also assuming that before this game drops, they'll probably, make a remastered version on PlayStation 4 of the original game.
Or re-release on PSN because, what was it? There was that talk that happened yesterday, which... Funny enough, they didn't really mention during this keynote speech, which I think is coming. I think it's coming later today, and me and you are going to talk after we finish recording about that. But I wouldn't be surprised if this comes out on PSN with trophy support. As like a re-release for the PlayStation 3, you could download on your PlayStation 4, especially as we get closer to the release of this game, because a lot of people love Ni No Kuni, very niche title, very very hardcore, dedicated fan base of that game. So I'm glad it's getting another game because it looks gorgeous. Looks absolutely. I love that animation. I mean, I love the anime style and such. It has a bunch of cool looking characters in it, has a cool looking premise. That dragon, that like robotic looking dragon or whatever, or that magic dragon in it, looked awesome. I was excited about it. A lot of people, and on Twitter, people were very excited about that game.
Oh yeah, well deserved. They already know that this studio does excellent work. And the first game was awesome, so this game is also going to be fantastic.
Yeah. So finally, to close out the show, which again we could talk about this for a little bit more than anything else, they introduced a new kind of like MOBA called Paragon, which I think is kind of late to the party. We have a lot of MOBAs out on the market right now. I don't think this should have been the game they closed it out with. I think they should have closed it out with Ni No Kuni.
Yes.
I don't know why they kind of decided that, but again, they probably came up with this a while ago in advance. But they introduced this game called Paragon, and again, it's a MOBA, and it looks very similar to a lot of the other MOBAs we find on the market. I mean, did you get this same type of impression when you saw it?
Well, here's the thing. Epic Games has been sending out press emails introducing these characters for the last couple weeks, just with like little trailers to introduce the character. And I do think that I'll say this. Of course, it was a cinematic trailer. None of that was gameplay, but the game, maybe it could be decent. Well, I do have a question for Epic. Next year is a very big year for them. They got a couple of different projects they're working on. I guess this is the next big project they're working on. They're no longer working on Gears. So I'm very curious to see how this does. There's a lot of other mobile games that are also out, as well as a few that are going to be out next year that could be direct competition with this game. Not necessarily, with this in terms of the same look or the same type of audience in terms of it being like a mature audience and stuff like that. But there are other games out there that are going to be coming up directly with this game in competition. So I'll be curious to see how it does. But it looked okay. I definitely don't think this is the game you want to close the show out with, because again, as far as in my personal opinion, I think they should have closed it out with Ni No Kuni 2 would have been great. You want to close it out with an exclusive, I would say, not a title that's going to be available on PC as well, and I'm pretty sure it'll be on Xbox One also. It's not exclusive to PlayStation, but I guess it was good to finally see some more about the game, but I still don't know enough about it to say, well, this is a game I'm looking forward to. I just want to hear more about what this is and why I should be interested in it.
I'm totally the opposite of that. Like, I just did not care as much. Like, it was just kind of a meh type of way to close out the show for me. Again, I really believe that they should have closed that with Ni No Kuni. That would have been an awesome way to kind of like leave that actual conference from it. But it's cool for that audience. I'm pretty sure that people that play a lot of MOBAs, and from my understanding, people that are really deep into MOBAs and stuff really only stick to one type of MOBA, or like for most of the time. I mean, they daddle a little bit in some of the other MOBA games that are out on the market, but having another MOBA game in an environment where we have League of Legends, we have Battleborn, we have Dota 2, we have all these Heroes of the Storm, you have all these different games that are like very similar in nature, almost quote, I guess you could argue, quote unquote, identical. But when I kind of compare it a little bit to kind of like the fighting game genre right now, because we're getting a lot of fighting games on the market. We got Guilty Gear, Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter, we're getting King of Fighters, and then all the other ones that are more niche and stuff. And so it's a little bit the same, not exactly, but I could totally understand people that are into that genre and stuff. It's just not for me. Well, not. Now, one thing I do want to mention, a couple things which we could discuss, some of the stuff that was not there, that wasn't there at all. Number one, obviously, No Last Guardian, which, again, I mentioned earlier in the show that they have the display on the PlayStation Experience floor, which is fine. It's whatever. I don't think they really need to say much about that game until they're ready to, like, right before it's about to get released and such. Same thing also, no God of War. I saw this on Twitter. I saw David Jaffe talking a little smack about God of War, saying that, like, about his seats and stuff, that he wants to announce a brand new God of War game. And I thought, because last time we didn't believe him, we got burned really badly, and he announced Twisted Metal at E3 and such. So I thought there was something was cooking up there for a second. But no God of War from Sony Santa Monica, which is surprising. No Sony Benz. That's another one. And a lot of the other Sony first parties, granted Santa Monica had a little bit of involvement with like one of the PlayStation VR titles and such. There wasn't a lot of stuff coming out of them. I mean, they could be working on other games. Maybe they're working on PlayStation VR stuff, or maybe they're big projects that are really they're really kind of like working hard at that just are not ready right now and being saved for E3.
Yeah, as far as David Jaffe is concerned, what happened to the game he was working on? The drawn was it
That's
drawn to?
Drawn to life.
Okay, yeah. What happened to that game?
Drawn to death, drawn to life, drawn to death. I mean, drawn to death is the game of the game.
Yeah,
Now, that's a good question. I'm pretty sure maybe that's on the floor. I wouldn't be surprised. Because it was playable at E3. I remember playing it when I went to the Sony section.
Okay. Yeah, because I was wondering. It's been a while since we've seen that. I mean, I see. Here's the thing. I can understand why they didn't show some stuff because they had that Paris event and they showed a lot of stuff at that event that people wasn't expecting. But I would have liked to give it some updates on what's going on with some of these other games. Of course, it's probably too soon to think that you would get an update on Detroit or, Wild or any of these other games.
Yeah, that's a good point. They had them in the B-roll, though. Like, at the very beginning of the show, you saw the thing from Detroit, you saw the thing from Wild, like, very briefly and whatnot. But I don't think they really have much to say at this point. I mean, they said a lot at Paris Games Week.
Yeah. Yeah, and of course, I know you need to give the developers time to actually get the games done. So I totally understand that. The God of War thing, though, because I know that Sony Santa Monica has been teasing something on Twitter, and that's why I thought, well, they're probably going to announce something big at this event, and they didn't announce it. So maybe that's going to continue until E3, as you said, saving some major announcements for E3. But I got to be honest, I don't know what else Sony can announce because they have announced pretty much a lot of the games that I was waiting to hear some updates on. So I'm very curious to see what else they have planned down the road.
Definitely. One thing I will say also now, as we were talking stuff, a lot of the announcements and stuff that they made have already been updated on the PlayStation Store, including right now. I'm actually on my Vita. I'm downloading Bastion on my Vita, which I'm going to check that out and, see how that goes. And I got a chance to play it, with my other consoles and such. And also, the Final Fantasy VII port is on the actual store right now. And it comes with a free Final Fantasy VII Remake theme for your PlayStation 4.
Wow.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's a lot of stuff.
It's a lot of stuff. And I really believe later on tonight, like this evening at the time we're recording this podcast, we're going to get some more announcements because I'm going to be tuning into the PS I Love You XOXO panel from Kind of Funny because Shuei Yoshida and Gio Corsi and I'm pretty sure Sean Layden and a few others are going to show up there because a couple other announcements they didn't talk about that some people were really kind of vying for. No PlayStation name changes, which was like a rumor, like a legit big thing that was happening apparently with some people. Also, no PS2 emulation stuff, which we mentioned earlier. And also, I think that's about it, right? Or am I missing one more? There's, I think, like a couple other things that might get talked about later on that I wouldn't be surprised we hear about during the course of the show, like later on today during that panel, or into tomorrow for the rest of the actual PlayStation experience.
Yeah. No. They definitely got to talk about the PlayStation 2 stuff because the post was already on the website, so I'm pretty sure they'll talk about
on YouTube. And it was on YouTube. The trailer came out on YouTube early. Last night? Yeah,
see, so maybe they figured that wasn't big enough to talk about, but they definitely gonna have to talk about that at some point since everybody is, they said they're gonna constantly, have other games that they're gonna be releasing underneath that. So yeah, they will definitely talk about that at some point.
Some of the games you could get on there now, Dark Cloud, which I know is remastered on there. And they have trophy support and such. You can get Grand Theft Auto 3, Grand Theft Auto Vice City, I believe is in San Andreas. I think so at some point. And there's a total of like 9 games, I think it is. Which one?
Yeah, Mark of Cree is on there.
Mark of Cree, yeah, that's another one. Yeah, there's a couple of good ones in there, and they're in they're not in 1080p, but like they're in HD, I believe it is, like upscaled or whatnot, and they have trophy support.
Well, here's a question for you now, though. I did see the pricing on these games. You think those prices are? Yeah,
I think those prices are legit. I think those prices are finalized or whatnot. I think maybe it's a little bit much for some of them. Yeah. I wouldn't pay for those PlayStation 2 classics, even though they're coming with trophy support and stuff like that. I probably wouldn't pay more than $10 for them. I think $14.99 for like Dark Cloud, even though I love Dark Cloud, I own the original Dark Cloud on my PS2. I think that's a little bit pushing it because I say the same thing, and I say that now, and I'm probably one of those same dudes that's probably going to go buy the Final Fantasy VII port right now and probably pay like $15 for it. So that's a little hypocritical of me, like that. But again, maybe their justification for the pricing again is because of the upscaling, because of maybe the licensing issues and stuff that come up from these games. Also, the trophy support, because from my understanding, from what I've been reading about on the net and through social media and stuff, it was a lot of stuff they probably had to do in order to kind of figure out a way to bring those games that aren't part of PlayStation Now and give them like all these other extra features that's brand new that you could get off the PlayStation Store. So that makes sense to me.
Yeah, makes perfect sense. Well, I mean, we'll see. When you said the licensing fees and stuff like that, yeah. But I do agree, $14.99 is probably too much for some of those games. We'll see. It would be good if what they did is if somebody was a PlayStation Plus subscriber, they give them an additional discount so they don't have to pay.
I'm pretty sure that's going to come because they do that with all their stuff for Plus users. Very, very certain that's going to be a thing. But again, it opens up the floodgates to a lot of the PlayStation 2 library, to come on the PlayStation 4 and give you a reason to play them again. Because the problem with one of the big problems with PlayStation Now was that you could play these games, and because most of the stuff on PlayStation platforms has trophy support and has like all these other extra features to them and whatnot, it gave you a little bit more incentive to play through them again. That with PlayStation Now, you didn't really get that so much. Now this seems like this could be a legit way for that to happen because again, there's other third-party games this could open up the floodgates to, even though most of these are first-party titles or from first-party studios or whatnot. I know Capcom just redid the trademark for Onimusha. I wouldn't be surprised maybe something like that happens down the line because Capcom's really good with Sony right now at this point. So this opens up a world of possibilities. Again, doing this with the Final Fantasy VII port, all these other games like that. We had Super Star Wars, a Super Nintendo game get that same type of treatment. So the possibilities are endless at this point. It's very exciting right now to be in the PlayStation camp, to be a PlayStation fan.
Yeah, no, definitely. And like I said, I'm looking forward to what they bring us in 2016. I'm also looking forward to what Nintendo and Microsoft do because they got some good stuff coming too. Well, Microsoft does. I don't know what all Nintendo has. I only know of Star Fox and Zelda and NX. So, but I have confidence it's going to be a very excellent year for gaming next year.
Definitely. So that was all the major stuff now from PlayStation Experience. I mean, overall, did you like the show just in general to kind of wrap things up?
Yeah. The thing is, again, I wasn't really too much of a fan of the VR stuff. I still have to be sold on that technology and the software. But for the reveals that they showed that were actually things that people were looking forward to, like the Ni No Kuni, that was awesome. Final Fantasy, again, I'm not really into the series, but even I thought the trailer was impressive. So I'm looking forward to that. Uncharted, we already know that's going to be fantastic. So I would say overall the show was pretty good. If I was to, well, see, here's the thing. If you was to ask me to compare this to some of the other shows they had this year, I still think the E3 show was the show. But this was a good show. This is a pretty good show, though, I think.
Yeah, of course. Like, again, a lot of people I saw on social media, like Twitter and stuff, really comparing this to the Game Awards that just happened recently. Such, I think that this was a good show. I thought that show also was good as well with what it had to offer and such. Overall, I know a lot of people seem a little disappointed with some of the stuff there, particularly like some of the surprises and things that they were expecting to show up or be like talked about and stuff. And that wasn't the case. But you have a lot to be excited about right now. There's a lot of good stuff going on with gaming. You're getting a lot of great games for all your Sony platforms. You're getting a lot of exciting stuff that we never thought were going to be at this point in time. Again, gameplay for Final Fantasy VII Remake. During E3, all of us, even though we were like hyped up about the announcement for it, we didn't think like we would get any sort of like morsels of information about that game anytime soon. Like I would have expected back then during this time to see more from Kingdom Hearts 3 than Final Fantasy VII Remake or like any of their other games like Final Fantasy 15, stuff like that. Or again, any of the other games that like we saw today that were like big announcements. We would have never expected that. There's a lot of cool stuff right now. So nobody should be mad. when it comes to gaming at this point.
Oh, absolutely not. And that was the main thing. I think that was the main message I took away from this year's E3. Because again, as you already said, a lot of people was wondering what was going to happen with these other games. I mean, I think everybody got everything that they wanted. That's why there should be no complaints, no controversy, nothing. Just sit back, play your games, and shut up. So that's what I would say. Everybody should be happy. And just to keep it balanced, the Xbox, Phil Spencer's been doing an excellent job with Xbox. They had some great games this year. They have better games that I'm actually looking forward to next year. So I think that everybody should be happy now. Whether you have Xbox, PlayStation, or Nintendo, you should be happy with what you have because you have games.
We have games.
Yes. Okay, so that concludes the recap of the show. Thank you very much for, and I know you was live tweeting the whole event, so that's why I felt that you should have been the one to lead that charge. But yeah, I thought it was awesome. For those of you that are watching this, please feel free to leave your comments in this post because I'm actually going to be posting this momentarily on the site. Let us know what you thought of PlayStation Experience, what you enjoyed, what you possibly didn't enjoy. And as I said, we are going to be having a co-op at some point because I know Gary and a few of the others did want to talk about this as well as a few other things. So look for that sometime soon. I'm not sure if it's going to be tonight or tomorrow, but definitely check out that later. But thank you all for watching and listening and supporting us. Have a great rest of the weekend and keep gaming.
Shout out to everybody at PSX, guys. Enjoy yourselves. Have fun, everybody. Nice seeing you.
Definitely. Have fun. Talk to you guys later.